Hello and welcome. My name is Kylie Cox. I am an intuitive medium and I help others innately heal. I do this by teaching techniques that I know have helped me in my life and have helped others around the world. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about BioTouch healing. So let's get started. Welcome to the introduction to BioTouch healing. As I said, it is one of my favorite techniques. And today you are going to walk away being able to doing this technique. It is a simple, hands-on energy healing technique. So if that sounds exciting to you, let's get started. Today we'll be answering these 7 questions. What is BioTouch healing? Why can everyone do BioTouch healing? What is the history of BioTouch healing and my connection? How do you perform the grading? How do you perform the neck set? How do you perform A&A of the headset? And what is a misfire? After we answer these 7 questions, you will be able to do these 3 sets of points on your own with your family and friends. You will be as equivalent to anyone else already doing BioTouch because it is simple and for everyone. So, what is BioTouch healing? BioTouch is a simple hands-on healing technique that reduces pain and stress and promotes healthy aging. BioTouch is as light as a butterfly. So I want you to keep that image in mind as you're working. You want to pretend like you're hovering there, being as light as you possibly can. BioTouch helps us connect to our self-awareness so that we can listen to what our body needs and support its natural ability to heal. BioTouch consists of 17 sets of points, lightly touched on the skin, and can be done by everyone. Again, it can be done by everyone. So, yes, you too can do BioTouch. We might be wondering, well, why can BioTouch be done by everyone? Well, everyone can lightly touch on the skin. And that's all that's required from BioTouch. BioTouch does not require you to possess special healing abilities. You do not have to have a state of mind, a religious belief, or any philosophies. Another beautiful thing about BioTouch is there are no levels. You are as effective while performing this touch therapy, whether it is your first time or you have been practicing BioTouch for years. Let's give you a little bit of the history of BioTouch to see where it came from, and then we'll dive in and start learning like we talked about. So, history of BioTouch. BioTouch traces its roots back to a mining engineer named Norman Cochrane. The first story of BioTouch, although it did not have that name just yet, comes from 1973. Norman was with a friend, and his friend began to have severe contractions in her 4th month of pregnancy. She had already suffered 2 miscarriages, so although this would be alarming for anyone, this was extremely alarming for her. Norman felt compelled to place his fingers on her abdomen. He performed what is now called the abdomen set. When Norman lightly touched her, her contraction eased. She was able to carry the baby to full term. It's one of those miracle stories, almost hard to believe, but that was just the birth of BioTouch. Word of BioTouch spread through Colorado like wildfire. This was a tiny mining city in Colorado, which now we introduce Paul Bucky, who is the founder of BioTouch and one of my true mentors. In 1989, Paul Bucky experienced this touch healing for the very first time. Paul had been suffering from a back pain for over a year. Now, a little history about Paul. He did the whole follow the guru around the world, got to travel, got to meet so many people. And after that experience, he decided he wanted to go more inward. So him and a few of his friends dropped out. They said goodbye to their families, bought some land, and lived off of that land. They got their own water, they grew their own food, they had no electricity. They truly were living what their dream was at that time. Well, unfortunately, they weren't able to stay there for the rest of their lives, and they ended up coming back into society. And that is a great thing for us because now we know about BioTouch because of this story of the first time that Paul experienced BioTouch. So after living in this small town for over a year, which was a town of all walks of life. There were cowboys, there was Paul the hippie, there were Native Americans, there were ranchers, everything you can imagine, all were living in this small town, what you can imagine Colorado would look like. Well, everyone in this town told Paul that you should go see Norman, and he didn't for a year. And then finally, he found himself on Norman's doorstep, didn't know what to expect, but definitely did not expect what he was walking into. He met this tall, bushy man whose name was Norman Cochran, and as he opened the door, he was inundated with smoke. So Norman was not the epitome of health. He was a chain smoker, coffee drinker, all hours of the day kind of person. And Paul actually loved this. He's like, oh, maybe there's something here. So he experienced BioTouch. Norman had him come in. He worked on his back for about 30 minutes, and then Norman left the room. Paul got up and assumed he was done, and then he continued to come out and talk with Norman. He asked Norman what he should expect, and Norman said, I don't know. He asked Norman when he should come back. Norman said, I don't know. You'll know. He asked how much he should pay Norman, and Norman said nothing. He was very insistent on this one. They did not take any charge for this healing technique. He felt it was something that was given to him and he should give it away for free. Well, fast forward to today, Paul continues to have that motto, and there is actually a healing center in Tucson, Arizona now, where they offer this healing technique for free. If you're ever in the area, I highly recommend going to check it out. It is a place like no other. So that was Paul's first experience with BioTouch, and he decided he wanted to learn more. So he just started hanging out at Norman's house. He would see everyone come in and experience this light touch. And he decided one day, we have to get this out to the world. And that has been his mission ever since. Now, at the time when I first learned about BioTouch, I was a simple massage therapist. I say simple because I had the idea that all healing had to be a hard work and you had to feel it, and that light touch would never work. And man, has that changed for me. So I truly believe healing is innate, and it is time to awaken to those abilities. I took my first class in 2014. Today, I am the Global Outreach Coordinator and the Secretary of the Board. I love BioTouch so much that I give back as much as possible. BioTouch helped me by helping myself realize that I did not need to be on ADD medication. Now, through consulting my doctor, of course, I went from being heavily medicated for 20 years, cold turkey stopped. And I think I probably would have gone back to it had I not had BioTouch, something that I could do with my family and something that could ease the withdrawals and everything that I experienced from going off of that ADD medication. Also, I do find now that the headset really helps me focus in when it is time for me to do so, although I definitely now embrace my ADD. So I love BioTouch, and that's why I'm here teaching it to you today. Let's jump into how you start practicing BioTouch because it is simple and you can do this. So to start every session, we simply wash our hands. That's the only thing we really request that you do. Now, if you're in an emergency and there isn't a time or a place to wash your hands, you can still touch the points. Just if you're working with family and friends in a casual or relaxed setting, wash your hands. Start that session that way. BioTouch is always one person touching another. So That means you are not giving and receiving BioTouch at the same time. You have one person that is the practitioner of BioTouch and one person that is the recipient of BioTouch. Now, you can also have two people be the practitioners, but the person that is the recipient is not touching anyone else, is not performing this technique. Every session begins with the greeting. We will learn that in a minute. You use 2 fingers of your hand. So we like to use the middle and pointer finger. As you can see me in the little corner, we use these 2 fingers lightly touched on the skin. We always touch directly on the skin. If that means someone needs to remove their shirt, you simply do that so that you can access the points. Again, we always use a butterfly-like light touch. Each point is touched for 7 seconds. You can practice BioTouch anywhere. And like I said already, more than one practitioner may work simultaneously on the recipient. So, sounds simple, right? Let's start learning. Let's start practicing. Here is the greeting you will see in these 2 diagrams. We always start with the greeting and it is held for 7 seconds. So, point 1 is the fleshy area just beneath the breastbone. You'll see me you will see me circling it with my remote now. Point 1 is a very sensitive area. So again, approach this. If this is your very first time, try to hover there as if you're not even touching them. Be very gentle. So for 7 seconds, you touch the area just beneath the breastbone. You can hold those 7 seconds for however you see fit, whether that's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Follow your intuition on this. You will do exactly what you're meant to do. Point 2, see this diamond here? This is the big bone. If you tilt your head forward, you can feel that big bone. Sometimes we can even feel it pretty easily with our head up, but go ahead and tilt forward and feel that big bone. Then we're going to go 1 inch to 1.5 inches to the left. I like to always say it's easy to remember, same side as our heart. And we hold that again for 7 seconds. So what's interesting about the greeting is that we only perform this with one hand on the body. Whatever your dominant hand is, go ahead and raise that up now. That is the hand you will be doing this greeting with. You will hold point 1 for 7 seconds, then you will hold point 2 for 7 seconds, and that completes the greeting. From here on out, you will always have 2 hands on the body. So if this sounds simple and you want to keep learning techniques, let's do it. This is the next set. We hold these points together in matching fire. That simply means that the hands are touching on the body at the same point, just on opposite sides of the body. So as you see here with 1 and 1, we are in the middle of the neck. Go ahead and locate your spine. It's right in the middle there. You can find it quite easily. And I want you to find the length of your neck. So go from where your neck meets your skull. You can feel those indentations in there. And from where your neck starts to connect to your shoulders in line with that big bone. We are now going to take that length and divide it in half. That helps us find right in the middle where 1 and 1 are. You hold this for 7 seconds. Now you will remove your hands from the skin and then move up to those indentations. So where the neck meets the skull, you'll hold this for 7 seconds. And last but not least, point 3 and 3. This is right above the big bone where the neck meets the shoulders. We're along the spine on the large muscles just beside the spine for all of these points. So we'll hold this for 7 seconds. And that's it. It's that simple. That is the next set. You can do these points in any order you see fit, and you can add what I love the most, which is called sweeps. So let's go ahead and we're going to start at 2 and go all the way out, or you can start at 3 and go all the way up. Whatever your intuition says to do, follow that. It's perfect. Gently going as slow as we can, just move our hands down and sweep out. This is an enhancement to this technique. You do not have to do this, and you can add in any sweeps or holds that you see fit to address the neck. Doing these 3 sets of points is all you need to do to complete the next set. So nice and simple. Again, right now I'm demonstrating finding these points on myself, but of course, if I was to be performing BioTouch, I would be doing these points on someone else, just like you would do the same. So if you have someone in your house right now that you can grab and practice these points on, go ahead and do that. Now we're going to learn A and A of the headset. You may look at this diagram and think, whoa, there's a lot going on. But don't worry, we're just going to learn A and A. And just A and A can have a beautiful impact on the body because we're in through fire. So you're connecting the whole skull here. So we find the first A by being directly in the center of our head, where our forehead meets our hairline. Go ahead and hold right there. You can see me doing it in the little box. And then in the back, where our skull meets our neck, right in the middle on the spine now. This is our second A. We hold this for 7 seconds. Let's do that now. That's it. It's that simple. I invite you to believe that healing can be that simple. Sometimes it's a little hard for us to truly believe that it can, but from my personal experience and from people around the world and from research by looking at the hormones in the body, we know it can be this simple. Now, what happens if you perform a misfire? When practicing BioTouch, if your hands accidentally touch or cross, this is what we call a misfire. When this happens, simply reposition your hands and start from where you were. No need to restart the whole set. So you don't have to go back and do the greeting. You don't have to start the set from the very beginning. Just reposition so that they are no longer touching or no longer crossed. It is that simple. One other thing I would like to say is if you're looking at these points, let's go back to the next set or headset. Now, you might think, oh, I'm new at this. I got to make sure I'm in the exact same spot. I want you to remember that you have about a $50 size of area to get that spot correctly. So while you're practicing, you might find that your intuition says, or a little part of you says, move a little bit more center. You might find that your intuition says, back off a little bit. Well, follow that guidance. You have a $50 size, so it's easy to get that point. And your body already knows this healing technique and it will adjust. Trust me, once you start practicing this, you'll just simply notice those little adjustments and it will be perfect. So if you have enjoyed learning BioTouch, I invite you to practice with your friends and family. Also, there is more to learn, so feel free to reach out. Most importantly, please remember, just touch. It can be that simple, and I hope you have enjoyed this presentation. If you have any questions about BioTouch, you can go to justtouch.com, or you can always reach out to me, Kylene Cox. My business is Awaken Innate Healing, so my website is awakeninnatehealing.com. I hope you've enjoyed this, and just touch.